What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Elan's Matchup Maximizer, our podcast presented by Keeping Carlson, where I, Elan Dubrowski, take a look at next week's NHL schedule, try to figure out which teams we should be targeting in order to maximize our chances of winning our head-to-head matchups. We're going for quantity here. We want as many games played as possible to overwhelm our opponents potentially in a playoff matchup. That's right. We're looking at the week of March 16th to March 22nd for the Keeping Carlson Ultimate Patron Fantasy League and probably a lot of other leagues. This is the quarterfinals. This is a big week, and we've got a week. Okay, this schedule next week, very different from what we just experienced and very different than what we're going to be seeing the following week, where it was busy like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and hardly any teams playing on off days. Next week, half the league plays 4 times, and the busiest days are Thursday and Saturday with only 22 teams playing, which means if you set your rosters, you may even be able to fit a streamer on either of those days, which would mean that you can fit any player that you want, right, in your roster on pretty much any day. So you have the pick of the litter. This is a week where the strategy is going to be, you look at your available free agents. Maybe you want to filter based on players playing 4 times, though honestly, if you find a player playing 3 times, but by Saturday, like you look at Detroit, they go Monday, Thursday, Saturday. Maybe good, not a great schedule, but if you can fit the Thursday, Saturday, then you could always swap for a Sunday person. So it's not that different necessarily than adding a player who plays 4 times. Vegas goes Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So sure, you get the extra game, but if you save your move, you can use that Sunday move to, drop your Detroit person and pick up a Vegas person then. And then you end up the same. Of course, though, your moves are scarce. But really, you've got to be looking at your free agency at this point and just seeing, like, who are the players who I think are going to just have a big impact for me? And that's not something I can really, help you with too much. Like, I don't know who's available in your free agency. At this point of the season, where we're near the end of the NHL season, I'd be looking at, last 14 days, average points per game. I guess there's, 2 ways to look at it. Like, who's hot lately? Sort your free agents by last 14 or 7 days, average points per game, get a sense of who's been hot. Then maybe also sort by percent rostered, or you could use our Cupful tool that Kevin built for the Cupful percent rostered, which is super handy, and just kind of get a sense of who are the highest end players, because some of them might be guys on cold streaks, but in great situations, just happen to be cold, and that's why they were dropped. And now's a great opportunity to jump on someone who we expect should be able to pick it up before. Let's say Nikolai Ehlers got dropped in your league. He hasn't been so incredible lately, only 2 assists in his last 4 games, but I'd probably take Nikolai Ehlers over most streamers, especially because Carolina actually has a good schedule next week. So those are all the things I'd look at. And then, as far as making the final decision, that's up to you. It's very hard to predict a single week or two. And right now, if you're in an elimination week, it's just a matter of hoping that the players you pick are going to perform for you next week. But okay, let's look at the schedule. Like I said, half the teams are playing 4 times. There are 3 teams that play 4 times and avoid the Thursday, Saturday, which are the busy days. Tuesday is a moderate day, 18 teams playing. Got to imagine most people will be able to fit in someone on a Tuesday. So we have 4 teams, like I said, 4 times or 3 teams that play 4 times, avoiding Thursday, Saturday. Those are the Calgary Flames, Carolina Hurricanes, and the Colorado Avalanche. So let's start in Carolina. I already mentioned Nikolai Ehlers. He's 84% rostered. I doubt he's available too. That was just an example of the type of player I'd be looking for that maybe got dropped by a frustrated manager. Don't forget, there's a lot of managers that are, maybe today, I'm recording this Sunday morning, it's their last chance to try to make the playoffs. They might make a crazy drop. So don't, make sure you're paying attention to all the drops, and maybe there'll be someone really awesome that you'll be able to use all your fab on or use your waiver priority to get when they clear waivers on Tuesday. And if you have by the way, a bye next week, if you clinched the semifinals like yours truly did in the Cupful, I'll be watching to see if any desperate managers drop a player. Like, let's say St. Louis only plays 2 times next week on Wednesday, Saturday. You better believe if Dylan Holloway gets dropped, someone like that Snuggerud, I'm going to try to get that player. Though, of course, at the same time, I have 0 fab, so probably someone else will get that player before me. But, that's the kind of strategy also you have to think of. But okay, I've already gone almost 5 minutes. I haven't even mentioned any players yet. Let's do this. Let's look at Carolina, like I said. So you're not going to... so their schedule is Tuesday, then Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So assuming you could fit the Tuesday, you're very likely going to fit all 4 games from your Canes streamer. Is there anyone worthwhile to get? Of course, that's the tricky question here, because you're not going to get a Jarvis, Aho, Svech, probably not Ehlers. Shane Gostisbehere is still injured. I haven't seen a recent update. While Gostisbehere has been injured, For a while, we saw Nikishin on the top power play. I'm seeing yesterday, Andre Miller had more power play time. I think that might have just been the second power play got more time. So I don't know. Nikishin or Andre Miller, I'd say Nikishin has had a couple good games. He had 2 games in a row where he scored a goal. The last couple of games, no points for Nikishin. If he's been dropped, if he's still on the top power play, that's pretty good. Like, especially if you need D anyways, and this will help you beyond next week and even further on into the rest of the season, filling a spot. Like, again, the following week, week 20, like the one starting March 23rd, there's going to be very few good streamers, just New York Rangers, basically. So if you can't get a good New York Rangers streamer, then if you have like only 3 defensemen or something, that's a perfect week to, grab like a Nikishin or whoever's on the top power play. Carolina's obviously good. K'Andre Miller's been decent as well. He had an assist yesterday versus Tampa. A couple games before that, he was quiet, though even in this 5-4 win over Pittsburgh, where Miller had no points, he did have 4 blocks and 2 shots. So he still did rack up a decent number of fantasy points without points and without actually getting any actual NHL points. So that's someone I like. As far as forwards go, like if you look at the game against Tampa yesterday, Carolina was rolling, like loaded up top line, Savech, Aho, and Jarvis. So that doesn't leave much exposure to the other players to have like stars to play with. I guess Jackson Blake was playing with Stankoven and Taylor Hall. That's our second line. That's a line that we've been talking about a little bit recently. I might have mentioned on last week's Matchup Maximizer. You probably can find these guys on free agency. Stankoven has scored 2 times in his last 3 games. Jackson Blake has been pretty consistent this season. Lately, it looks like a cold streak, like only 1 assist in his last 4 games, but one of those games he had 4 shots. Yesterday, he had a 6-shot game before that. So I think there's definitely a decent chance that Jackson Blake could do something. So I think I'd go Blake, Stankoven, Taylor Hall, all interesting options if you want to try to grab a forward. Taylor Hall, like, just to me is not an interesting option, though he does have 4 points in his last 6 games, all assists. Just very hard for me at this point in his career to put too much faith in Taylor Hall. So hopefully I've given you some good options there on the Carolina Hurricanes. And once again, I must stress, this is for fun. We're having a good time here. I'm going to tell you a bunch of players, but really there's so many teams that you may be able to stream players from and fit them in. So you don't need to be restricted to just the teams that I talk about here. But okay, another team that plays 4 times avoiding the busy days are the Calgary Flames, who go a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday schedule. We mentioned on last week's podcast that maybe Calgary doesn't have anyone worth rostering, but that doesn't mean they don't have anyone worth streaming. And actually, we were corrected. Blake Coleman is probably worth rostering. He scored a goal again yesterday against the New York Islanders in a 3-2 loss. Blake Coleman's been really solid. Like, that was a big miss by Brian and I. We should have said jump on Blake Coleman now. Maybe he'll get more ice time or whatever with this, increased role. He played 19 minutes and 23 seconds in the last game. So if you can still somehow get Blake Coleman, I would jump all over him, especially for this good schedule next week. If you can't get Blake Coleman, I can tell you who's hot lately. Backlund has scored in 2 straight games. Nothing wrong with getting a Mikhail Backlund in the game versus the Islanders. The lines were Coleman, Backlund, and Joel Farabee. Farabee, as like most of the season, hasn't been doing too much. He did have a big game a couple weeks ago, 2 goals and assists versus Carolina. Since then, 2 assists in his last 4 games, so not terrible, but with like very few shots, it's hard to get too excited about Joel Farabee. I look at Igor Sharangovich. He's scored 2 goals in his last 4 games, been taking some shots. Sharangovich has been playing on a line with Olofsson and Ryan Strome. Maybe I should mention power play. That's usually a thing. I would have expected Olofsson. Why did trade for him if not to put him on the top power play? But no, it's been, at least in that last game, Coleman, Frost, Coronado, and Matvei Greden, and Zane Parekh. That was our top power play. So are we interested in any of those people? I guess for a moment it looked like Ryan Strome, by the way, was something. He had 2 straight games with points since joining the Flames. Not much since then. Greden is, I know, a high pedigree guy that potentially could be interesting, especially now that he's getting this top power play. I'm seeing that Greden has 2 points in his last 4 games for a Calgary Flame. That's pretty good. And so yeah, if you get 2 points from a streaming spot in these upcoming 4 games, I don't think you're too upset, especially if you can get them maybe before the Sunday and then reassess. Maybe you can drop the Calgary guy for someone for the following week if you get lucky enough to be ahead in your matchup. Matt Coronado at one point was the Flame that I thought was the best, right? Like after Kadri and Uyghur, but he's super cold. It's really hard to recommend Coronado at this point. I don't know what happened to this guy. Signed a big contract, and now he's getting outshone by Backlund and Coleman. Coronado was playing on a line with Frost and Greden. For what it's worth, still top power play, so it's a decent deployment. He's getting good minutes, but like nothing to show for it. And really, it's the shots that are so crazy. He had a 6-shot game against the Rangers 3 games ago, and then since then 0 shots against the Devils, and then 1 shot yesterday against the Islanders. I don't know what to do with Matt Coronado. Sorry, everybody. Okay, one more team that has these like 4 games avoiding the Thursday, Saturday is the Colorado Avalanche, who just like Calgary go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. The problem with Colorado is they have their awesome players, and they're all taken in every league, and there's really nobody else that's especially exciting. Like McKinnon is obviously going off. Natchez has been incredible. Kadri hasn't actually been as awesome as I thought it would be since getting to Colorado, but I guess they did lose 3-1 yesterday against Winnipeg, so not as many goals maybe as we would have expected, but obviously Kadri would be an amazing get if you can get him, but he's 68% rostered on Yahoo. Nichushkin hasn't even been that good, and he's probably rostered in your league. Maybe now's a good time if Nichushkin has been dropped. That could be one of those examples I said of a guy who you grab even though they're cold, because in general we'd expect them to do something. As far as the lines, like yesterday against Winnipeg, Colorado was rolling McKinnon, Kadri, Natchez, leaving Nichushkin to play with Nelson, and it looks like sometimes Nick Roy, sometimes Gavin Brindley, as they were switching around the lines a little bit, trying to figure out a way to score against Hellebuck. I don't know. The lines might also change. What's the plan here with Lehkonen and Landeskog? They have some injuries, right? I don't know. Sure. Brian and I maybe can give an update on the mega show tonight of like when all these players are coming back. In the meantime, yes, as far as the forwards that might be available to you that are like there's nobody. Like I don't know. Like even the highest percent rostered forward that's not injured on Colorado right now, that's not, that's below, let's say 50%. I think we're looking at Parker Kelly at 2% rostered on Yahoo, and I wouldn't recommend him unless your league is like a bangers categories league and you could take advantage of his hits. Maybe a defense option is worth considering. Like Sam Malinsky has 2 assists in his last 3 games. I've liked Malinsky for a while. I think I'll especially like Malinsky next year, assuming Burns is gone and then Malinsky gets to jump into a top 4 spot on the D core. Then I think that could be an increase of ice time. Malinsky maybe could become more of a 20-minute guy when now he's been more of a 16 to 18-minute guy. So yeah, sorry, not really much for Colorado for you as far as the stream. And maybe with that, I'll take a break, and then I'll go through some more teams after the break that play 4 times, including the Thursday, Saturday. But like I said, you might be able to fit them since Thursday and Saturday aren't so busy. 22 teams playing. So we'll be back in just a sec. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm taking a look at the odds right now as of March 15th. I like looking at the awards odds. The Vezina is the most interesting to me right now. Vasilevsky is currently the favorite. He's coming off a weak game against Carolina yesterday. I feel like the field is still kind of wide open. I wonder if someone could still win it. Sorokin is next in the list. If you have an idea of who you think is going to win the Vezina, take a look at DraftKings Sportsbook. By the way, new customers bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026. NHL all rights reserved. So we've been through the 3 teams that play 4 times, avoiding the somewhat busy Thursday, Saturday. Like I said, still a bunch of teams playing 4 times. Why don't I just run through every team playing 4 times? I know this is crazy. Super like lightning round. We'll give you one player at least on each team that maybe we could be interested in. So we have the Boston Bruins going Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You know I love a 3 games in 4 days to start the week if you can fit that Tuesday and Thursday. As far as who you're going to grab on the Bruins, that second line of Arvidsson, Zacha, and Mittelstadt has been pretty solid. Zacha, if he's out there for you, finally broke a bit of a cold streak with an assist yesterday. Bruins have a good playoff schedule all the way through, though of course that's for deeper or shallower leagues because Zacha is rostered 30% in Yahoo. Maybe Victor Arvidsson could be available for you. He's on a really nice run, actually. He's getting points in almost every single game lately. Not on the top power play, but Arvidsson an assist yesterday, bringing him to 7 points in his last 6 games. I think you can do a lot worse than Victor Arvidsson, and like I said, Boston has a good schedule even beyond next week, so I'd definitely be happy with getting an Arvidsson there. The Buffalo Sabres play on on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So who are we going to grab over on Buffalo? You're not going to get Tage or Darlene or Tuck or Samuelson, who's injured anyways. Byron, probably not. After that, maybe you have a lot of options at your disposal. Probably the hottest player right now is Jason Zucker, only 12% roster on Yahoo. I don't really get why. He had a couple multi-point games earlier in the week. He's been quiet the last couple of games. If that's led to him being dropped, I would definitely jump on a Jason Zucker. Then you got Jack Quinn, who had that 3-goal, 1-assist game against San Jose, was quiet against Washington, but then scored a goal against Toronto. In general, I like a guy on the top power play, so I would take Zucker for sure. The top power play on Buffalo has been Tage, Zucker, Norris, Doan, Dahlin. I've been seeing Norris dropped in a bunch of leagues as he's on a bit of a cold streak. I think that that might be someone worth jumping on, honestly. I know he's pointless in 4 games, but before that, he was looking pretty good. I think this is an example of a player that probably is underperforming. He's played 19 minutes and 13 seconds yesterday against Toronto. I know it would be crazy sounding to recommend grabbing Norris over, say, a Jack Quinn, even though Quinn has been hotter lately. But I think if I had to pick, I'd take Norris. But yeah, I think for Buffalo, you just take your pick. But for me, I'm always going to lean towards a top power play guy if you have the option. Buffalo does seem to cycle through who's having a hot week now and then. Okay, so then next up we can go to the Chicago Blackhawks, who play Tuesday, Thursday, and then Friday, Sunday. With Chicago, you generally want to have exposure to Connor Bedard, who's been great lately, but you can't probably get Bertuzzi. If you can get Frank Nazar at this point, I'd be into him. He's been on quite the run, only 15% rostered on Yahoo. Nazar's been playing, at least in the last game, on a line with Bertuzzi and Teuvo Teravainen in the 4-0 loss to Vegas, so obviously no points there for anyone on Chicago. But before that, Nazar had a 5-game point streak with 3 multi-point games in there. So I would definitely love a shot at Frank Nazar if he's available in free agency. Then I guess you can look at Teuvo Teravainen, who's been on the top power play with Nazar, Bertuzzi, Bedard, and then looks like sometimes Lev Shunov, sometimes Sam Rinzel. Teravainen had a bit of a run, pointless obviously yesterday. Before that, had 4 assists in his previous 3 games. I don't mind that at all. If you can get Teravainen, who, like I said, is playing on this line with Bertuzzi and Nazar. As far as the Bedard line, it's been Bedard, Burakovsky, and Ryan Green. Well, I don't know. Poor Connor Bedard. I guess he's figuring it out, but I still wouldn't recommend Burakovsky or Ryan Green. They've been way too quiet for my liking. Okay, so next up we can go to the Columbus Blue Jackets, who play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. With Columbus, you're not going to get a Werenski or a Marchenko, of course, or a Fantilli, or at this point, probably not a Charlie Coyle. A lot of other options potentially available to you. Don't look now. Sean Monahan had 3 assists in his previous 4 games, quiet in the last couple of games. Do we expect that to keep up? I guess probably not. The lines, by the way, have been... Monahan was playing on this line with Connor Garland, who, if you recall, Garland had 2 goals in each of his first couple of games with Columbus. He's been quiet in the 2 games since, just like both Lewis and Ryan on the latest Short Shift episodes predicted. So I guess they were smart to not want to go all in on Connor Garland. And so, yeah, I would expect probably Monahan was capitalizing on Garland's scoring luck, and so maybe he's not someone to target. Boone Jenner, I'm seeing, is available in a lot of leagues. Generally, he's pretty solid, though Jenner's been really quiet, which makes sense because he's playing on a line with Heinen and Lundestrom in the bottom 6. The top power play has been Fantilli, Marchenko, Marchment, Coyle, and Werenski. So yeah, I guess that does leave the one guy I haven't mentioned yet in Mason Marchment, who is I think the clear guy, and honestly, he might be available. Only 1 assist in his last 4 games, but Marchment, if he sticks playing with Marchenko and Fantilli at even strength and on the top power play, that is a recipe for success. So yeah, take advantage of a desperate manager who's dropped Mason Marchment. He may still be available to you, 26% rostered on Yahoo. He's definitely someone I would be interested in going for. And yeah, I guess that does kind of finish my rundown of the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Dallas Stars also play 4 times next week. That's a Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday for Dallas. Obviously, the main names are going to be taken, and they're all doing pretty well. Jason Robertson has been hot lately. Heiskanen doing great. Wyatt Johnston. Thomas Harley's not going to be available to you. Rope Hintz is injured again, unfortunately. Duchesne has continued his hot streak somewhat. No points yesterday in the 3-2 win over Detroit, but before that, Duchesne had points in 3 straight. But yeah, you're not going to get any of these people anyways. Jamie Benn, only 15% rostered. Go get Jamie Benn. Come on. I'd be surprised if in a serious league, why wouldn't you want Jamie Benn at this point? He's been playing on this line with Duchesne. He's been playing on the top power play with Hintz injured. He had 3 goals in his last 3 games. No points yesterday, but definitely if you can get Jamie Benn, I'd be all over that. Really, that's the only interesting guy I can see on Dallas at this point who might be available to you. So yeah, Jamie Benn, that's my name over on the Dallas Stars if you can get him. I can't. in a couple. He's taken. Team Stoof grabbed him a while ago. It was a smart ad. We can go to the LA Kings next. Anze Kopitar just broke this record for most points ever by an LA King. He is someone only 29% rostered, and he was super cold forever, but don't look now. Kopitar's like point per game over his past 8 games or so. If he's still out there, go get him, and I'll definitely be bringing him up tonight on the Mega Show, and maybe Brian will have to say, because Brian was like, I'm totally not interested in Anze Kopitar. I don't see why anyone would be, and I understand he was cold, but look, at the end of the day, the deployment is the deployment, and he is Anze Kopitar, who clearly still has some talent, and he's playing on this line with Panarin and Kempe, and on the top power play, yes. That's like higher than Mason Marchment, higher than Marchenko for 4 games next week, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Definitely grab Anze Kopitar if you can fit him in. He's on a heater right now. Hopefully it wasn't just to break this franchise record and then he goes cold, but I think we might as well just grab on. Of course, with Kopitar, Kempe, and Panarin all on the same line, that doesn't leave too much for everyone else. Quinton Byfield is super cold right now. Pointless in, I guess, forever? 5 games now. Honestly, it's hard to recommend Byfield right now. Like, he would kind of fit that example of like a guy who maybe dropped because he's cold. Now the team has a good schedule, so why not just jump on him and give him a shot? But if he's not on the top line, he's not on the top power play, I don't have a lot of faith in Byfield really doing anything. So maybe you have better options out there. And if you are holding Quinton Byfield, get your Monday, and then maybe you drop him for someone and then reconsider adding him or someone else back for the Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. But I don't know if I'd want to sit 2 games with no Byfield games just to then get the Thursday where he'll likely go pointless again. So definitely not too interesting to me. And yeah, really, it's like the other name to throw out there in terms of deployment is Alex Laferriere, who's been holding on to this top power play spot with Kempe, Panarin, and Kopitar. But yeah, Laferriere is also pointless in 4 games. But at this point, I'd probably take Laferriere over Byfield. He's playing with Byfield's even strength, but getting that top power play makes a difference to me. So there you go. That's the LA Kings. Obviously, it's Anze Kopitar with a bullet. Also, by the way, Drew Doughty has been getting some points lately. Nothing crazy, but he does have 2 points in his last 4 games. Had 5 hits yesterday against New Jersey. I don't know if you need D. Maybe, like, I know we've all left him for dead pretty much, but he still plays huge minutes on a team that's starting to score some goals. So I think maybe it'll be okay. Like, let me predict 2 points in the next 4 games for Drew Doughty. So if that's appealing to you, then maybe go for him. But okay, that's the LA Kings. We can go next to the Nashville Predators, who play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll jump right to the name that's been hot on Nashville lately, and that is Matthew Wood, the rookie. He's been playing on a line with Lura and Reed Schaefer, which I guess is bottom 6, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Only playing like 12, 10 minutes a game. But Matthew Wood now has 4 goals and 1 assist in his last 4 games. He is on a super heater, taking 2 or 3 shots every single game, not even getting top power play, but I don't know. Like, I mean, at what point do I say, like, yeah, we have to at least consider Matthew Wood, especially with a good Nashville schedule, assuming you can fit, obviously, the Thursday, Saturday. Maybe you can wait till Tuesday morning and then take a shot on Matthew Wood, see if he can keep this up. I'll definitely mention him on the Mega Show with Brian. Let me make a note of that right now so I don't forget. And I mean, in a similar vein, do I need to mention this Ryan Ufko, who is also a new guy on the team, has 3 points in 4 games. He's a defenseman, so if you need D, he's barely playing any minutes. Hard to imagine this will keep up, but it's my duty, right, to at least let you know. I guess Nashville's trying out a lot of these young prospects. Ufko is only 22 years old, and so far, so good on this run with the team right now. I guess he played 1 game last year. Now these are his first 4 games, and he's doing pretty well. Former 4th round pick, so not super high pedigree, but he's looking good. Anyways, but I don't know if I'd be jumping on him, but maybe Matthew Wood. He's scoring some goals. It's hard to ignore him. And then maybe for a higher end guy, maybe we can look at higher end. I mean, he used to be higher end. Jonathan Marchessault has been getting going a little bit. He has 3 assists in his last 3 games. Not taking the shots I'd like to see, but Marchessault is playing on a line with O'Reilly and Forsberg and on the top power play. So probably, call me crazy, I'm going to still say Marchessault over Matthew Wood if you can get him. So for this good schedule, I think I'll take a guy just getting good deployment who has some pedigree, even though he's had a cold season. I think I kind of like Jonathan Marchessault for next week. I think he's going to be a good bet. Next up, we can go to the New York Islanders, who play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Ryan and I mentioned Callum Ritchie heating up a little bit on the short shifts show we did on Thursday. So, of course, Callum Ritchie then went quiet for the next 2 games to make us look bad. So, thanks a lot, Callum Ritchie. You jerk. Also, we played him in our dynasty team and he did nothing for us. It was very frustrating, but that's fine. Okay, you know who's looking good right now again? It's Emil Heineman. He had 2 goals against the Kings. He had 3 shots, no goals yesterday, and 3-2 win over Calgary. But Heineman is playing on the line with Barzal and Horvat. If they link Barzal and Horvat together, then you want that third piece. And since they won that last game, maybe they'll keep it going. So I think Heineman becomes pretty interesting right now if you can get him, especially for a 4-game week next week. That would definitely be your top streamer over on the New York Islanders, with an honorable mention for sure to Braden Shen, who has 2 points in 4 games since joining the team. And Shen is getting decent deployment, playing with Duclair and Holmstrom, but also top power play with Horvat, Barzal, Callum Ritchie, the guy who does nothing, and Matthew Schaefer. But yeah, give me Heineman, then Shen, and forget about Callum Ritchie for now. Dead to me after just 2 games. That's all it takes. Let's go now to the New York Rangers, who have that great schedule in 2 weeks, but also a great schedule next week, playing those 4 times. Monday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Sunday. So you could always get those 3 games in 4 days if you can fit the Thursday. Even get the 2 games in 3 days if you can't fit the Thursday, and then reassess for your Rangers streamer. So JT Miller is back. He played in that game against Minnesota. We'll talk about that on the Mega Show, of course. No points in the 4-2 win, but obviously if you have JT Miller, you take him off of your IR. That's no-brainer. That has changed up the lines. It bumped Matthew Perreault from the top power play. Sorry, Gabe Perreault. Matthew Perreault, I believe, is a former legend of the podcast who Brian predicted he was going to do well, and then he did, and we were all very excited. But no, Gabe Perreault, guy who's come on, he has 4 straight games with at least a point, and 3 of them are multi-point games. It was actually a disappointment yesterday to only have 1 assist for Gabe Perreault. It's disappointing that he's now bumped from the top power play, but he's still playing with Lafreniere and Zibanejad at even strength and still producing. So I think Gabe Perreault is pretty much a must-add. With the schedule coming up for the next couple of weeks, just how could you not want Gabe Perreault at least to ride out this hot streak and with this good deployment? Will Cooley has been cold, but I would still hold on to Will Cooley for the schedule and playing on a line with Trocheck and JT Miller. And then gotta give some mention to Ty Cartier, who continues to produce. He has points now in 5 straight games. Crazy. From the third line, no power play, but whatever. He's producing, he's hitting. So I think at some point we have to consider, I don't know how long it'll last, but for now, maybe you jump on Ty Cartier, especially again, just with the schedule, I think any Rangers that's doing anything is worth taking a look at. Then on defense, by the way, Gavrikov has really been going off. He had 1 goal and 2 assists yesterday against Minnesota. I think if you need D at this point, I would be jumping on Gavrikov again for all of these games coming up in the next couple of weeks. Lafreniere, 36% rostered. In your shallow league, if you can somehow get Lafreniere, what are you waiting for? He's been incredible lately. I'm excited to talk about him on the Mega Show. Brian and I are going to have a lot to talk about tonight. Okay. Next up, we have, 4 or 5 teams left. I'm doing a really long matchup maximizer here. Hopefully you're having fun. Pittsburgh Penguins play 4 times: Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. I feel like I've talked a lot about Pittsburgh on every podcast I've been doing for a while, just because they have all these guys that might still be available to you, though as time goes on, at some point, it's like, why are these guys still available to you? But if you can get Yegor Chinnikov, he keeps having multi-point games. He had 2 assists yesterday against Utah. Why not get Yegor Chinnikov? Been playing with Rust and Raquel. I see Crosby's practicing, so maybe he'll be back soon. Malkin has missed... he's missed the 5 games. So does that mean Malkin's back on... don't quote me on this. I think Malkin might be back on Monday. So obviously if Crosby and Malkin are potentially both back, that'll change up the lines. But I'd still be interested in Chinnikov. And then, you have your Mantha has been doing well. If you're in a super deep league, Tommy Novak, who's been playing with Mantha, scored a goal in the last game and has been doing okay. So you have a few interesting New York Rangers there. I think I basically mentioned them all. Though, of course, like I said, if Crosby and Malkin are both back, that's going to change up the lines. I have a feeling Chinnikov is the one who has the best chance to keep going. And then I guess Mantha also. He's been doing well all season. At some point, we have to stop doubting Anthony Mantha. But I think I've said this like a million times this season. It's been a fun season for Pittsburgh Penguins potential streamers. Tampa Bay Lightning play 4 times next week. And with Tampa, we know that it's generally you're just getting the high percent rostered guys that are going to get most of the points for you. Then you're not going to get much from anyone else. Though if you need D, JJ Moser, he's been doing this a couple times. He had a couple games with a goal earlier last week. He plays decent minutes. I think there's always a chance. Again, this is, I guess, a deeper cut, but for a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, especially if, let's say, you're full on Thursday, Saturday for forwards, but you can fit a defense, maybe you could consider a JJ Moser. He's been kind of hot. I guess the real actual name I should have started with on Tampa, though, is Gage Gonsalves, who is back, and he's playing on a line with Gensel and Braden Point. So definitely you're going to be interested in that, and he has points in the 3 games since he's returned. So yeah, that's the no-brainer there. Gage Gonsalves, I think, is a really good streamer if you can fit those 4 games next week. He's looking really good here. I'm just confirming that I have him down for the mega show, and I see I do. So good. Gage Gonsalves. Brian and I will give him a little bit more time in a little bit. We're running out of teams here. 3 more, though. Utah Mammoth. So many teams play 4 times next week. Utah plays Monday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, so they even avoid that busy Saturday. Maybe it's a team you target for Thursday for the 3 games in 4 days if you don't want to jump on any player right away. Utah does have a lot of high percent rostered players. JJ Paterka is available in my couple division, even though he's 51% rostered on Yahoo. Makes sense. He's been really quiet. He did score a goal a couple games ago. Aside from that, Paterka really hasn't been doing anything, so it's hard to recommend him. Maybe if come Thursday morning, if you can fit the 3 games in 4 days, at that point, maybe it's worth it. He is playing on a line with Genther and Cooley. Like, it's a pretty sweet spot to be, though, of course, not top power play because Barrett Hayton has to be there. It's been Schmaltz, Keller, Hayton, and Dylan Genther, which then, of course, always begs the question, should I add Barrett Hayton? The answer is always no. I know he had a little bit of a run earlier in the year, but at this point, back to Barrett Hayton doing Barrett Hayton things, which kinds of leaves us with no one interesting to grab. Unfortunately, Keller, Schmaltz have been playing with Lawson Krause, who for a while I was kind of interested in, but he's been super quiet lately. Again, though, he's hitting a lot, so he gives you that, and there is always the potential that he'll get a point playing with Keller and Schmaltz, the newly re-signed Nick Schmaltz is going to be a Utah Mammoth player for a very long time, 8-year contract, and he's already 30 years old. But yeah, so that could be a deep cut there in a deeper league if you want to grab a Lawson Krause, especially if you benefit from the hits. Obviously, that makes him more valuable. Vegas Golden Knights are next. They play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Vegas has Mark Stone back in the lineup, so that has meant Stone, Barbashev, Eichel, which does sound like good for an Ivan Barbashev, who had 2 assists in his last 3 games, so nothing crazy. No points in the 4-0 win over Chicago yesterday. To be fair, Jack Eichel, I believe, also had no points in that game against Chicago. It was a lot of Marner and Dorofeyev in that last game. But anyway, you're not going to get any of these people. Well, maybe you're going to get Barbashev. So Barbashev's definitely someone to look at, probably one of your top streamers just because of that top line deployment. You're not going to get anyone on the top power play. They were back to rolling 5 forwards on the top power play for a bit. Braden Bowman was back in the lineup, but if Bowman is like, he was playing with Brett Howden and Colton Sissons. So yeah, it was Barbashev with Eichel and Stone, and then Hurdle, Marner, Dorofeyev. So that doesn't really leave you anyone of interest. Maybe on defense, right? You can go with Braden McNabb, who continues to just rack up the peripherals. He did score a goal also 2 games ago against Pittsburgh, along with 4 shots and 4 hits and 2 blocks. The game before, there was no points, but 5 shots and 5 hits. So yeah, if you can fit, again, this is like one of these cases where if you can't fit a forward necessarily on Thursday and or Saturday, maybe you're looking at a streamer that's a defense that you can fit in. And I think that we're at a point, Braden McNabb is a pretty high end. In the league like the Cupful, where we give a decent number of points for shots and hits, well, not as much hits, but for blocks, like the peripherals seem to add up to a reasonable number of fantasy points for you. Then we could end with the Winnipeg Jets, same schedule, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So again, you maybe wait till the Thursday and get 3 games in 4 days if you can fit them in. It's the same old story with Winnipeg. Nothing really ever changes there. You're not going to get Connor Scheifele, Morrissey, Velarde. Maybe you're looking at a Cole Perfetti. I think I'm into Cole Perfetti. He's got 3 points in his last 3 games. Brian and I already said in a recent podcast that we're into Cole Perfetti. Now that he doesn't have really amazing players to play with at even strength, though I see in this last game against Colorado, Velarde was moved to the Perfetti line, so that does help Perfetti. And then it was Alex Iafallo up with Scheifele and Connor. Alex Iafallo, for what it's worth, had a goal in that game, but he's kind of like a Barrett Hayton to me. Like, even with the good deployment, it's going to be hard for me to put too much faith in an Alex Iafallo. Maybe you get to next weekend, Saturday, Sunday, maybe you jump on him for 2 games in 2 days. I think at that point, that's the only way I would stream an Iafallo. Like, if it's like 2 days in a row, you're getting both games, then sure. Otherwise, but yeah, Cole Perfetti, I'm definitely into. He also gets top power play, so he would be your top streamer if you can get him. Starting to get rostered in a lot of leagues, and for good reason. So there we go. We've gone through all the teams that play 4 times next week. I really hope that this has been valuable, and good luck to all of you as you head into your fantasy playoffs. If you're making it, don't forget, even if you didn't make the championship playoffs in the Keeping Carlson Ultimate Patron Fantasy League, the consolation playoffs have some pretty big stakes. If you could win your consolation playoffs, you'll likely have avoided relegation, or you can look at kakouple.com/rules and look at the pyramid of how it all works out, like what position you land in and what that means for your tier next year. And definitely you get a benefit from winning your consolation playoffs. So keep fighting until Yahoo tells you there's no matchup for you. Then you know it's over. So yeah, good luck everyone. Have fun, and I'll be back soon for a mega show tonight with Brian. So talk to you then.